I thank all of our guests that are here with us tonight and invite you to come back to see us again next month. We also want to thank all of our members for their continued support. The April meeting will focus more and more on the GISD bond and runoff elections. We're going to meet the winners of our senior essay contest, and maybe a little bit more will be announced later. So we have some more things we're going to work on. If you would please welcome Chaplain Terry Leuven to lead us in prayer.
You would pray with me. Heavenly gracious Father, God of all creation, Lord, we praise you for who you are and give you thanks for the blessings in our life. Thank you, Lord, for this assembly tonight. Pray, Lord, for your Holy Spirit to hover over us. And Lord, that your hand to be upon us and that you give us wisdom and the knowledge to use it. Lord, bless all of those who are here tonight. Lord, we pray for our first responders, men with the police department, the sheriff's department, and the fire department, as well as the EMTs. Lord, we just ask for your safekeeping and your care for them. Lord, we thank you again for this evening, and we welcome your presence. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jerry. Now if you welcome up our Justice of the Peace Precinct 3, Stephen Barnett, to lead us in pledges.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The greatest state in the U.S.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now if I could have all of our veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, all frontline responders stand. We definitely want to thank you for your service. Now we can just let the current elected officials stand up and kind of give your names.
Oh, back, yes, Jim Derrick, Mayor.
I'm
Richard Harris, Judge of the County Court of Law.
Steve Barnett, Justice Peace Precinct 3.
Carrie McNew, Precinct Chair 101.
Dave Eagle, Commissioner, Precinct 4.
Sharon.
Oh, Karen Lowry, School Board.
Nick, thank you. Okay. Is that everybody? Okay, we want to thank you guys too. Y'all do great service for the community. Here's a little public announcement from the club. If you're interested in helping with the setup for the meeting on meeting nights, or can stay back at the end to help put the church back the way we found it, please see Charles Beard. He's back there with the camo cap in the back. Sunglasses, camo cap, and that. He probably needs at least 2 helpers to assist with this task. What we do is we take some chairs out, put them back. Sometimes we have to remove everything from the room, and that takes a little time to do that. And then, so we start about 4:30 for the setup part of it, and then just a little bit of time afterwards to put it all back together. So if you're interested, please talk to Charles about doing that and let him know. Thank you. Okay, next we have a guest. Her name is Kathy Castro. She is here to talk to us about the Field of Flags and our Honoring Hometown Heroes. The Cook County Republican Club Board has approved for us to buy a flag for the Field of Flags in honor of our veterans here at our club. And what we want to do is honor all of you with that flag and then bring it to our meeting and hang it and honor you again. So I hope a lot of you others out there will help these people. It's a good program.
Can I have your assistance? This gentleman right here. Do you mind what I displaying this?
To show everyone here, this is a banner. Actually, this one is from year before last. This is the 3rd year that we have these banners that you can order to honor your hero or heroes. On this one in particular, some friends of mine, other volunteers, they surprised me with this banner that shows me with my son in my arms, and my son is news to me. So, how about that? And they surprised me. I did not even know it was up on the field. They told me, Kathy, keep walking to the front. Walk around the front. And there it was. Anyway, my name is Kathy Castro. I know some of you out here. We do good things in the community, so we get to see some of the same faces. Good evening. My name is Kathy Castro, U.S. Navy veteran with a son currently serving Air Force and chair of Honoring Hometown Heroes in the Field of Flags, 7 years. I am by no means a professional speaker, but a passionate American when it comes to our fallen heroes and their families, Gold Star families. Does everyone know what a Gold Star mother or family is? Many do not. If my son was killed while in service to country, an example of combat, or a training aircraft mishap, my Blue Star Mother title, Mother of Active Duty or Retired, would change to Gold Star Mother. First of all, thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak on our Memorial Day program. It's really everyone's Memorial Day program, what it represents. Honoring Hometown Heroes in the Field of Flags. In past years, you probably noticed the big crane and flag and all of those flag rows flying in the wind as you drove by 377, drove down 377. Maybe drove by at night and saw the lighted field. Such a beautiful scene, something that filled you with pride. You would have never guessed that it all evolved from a Gold Star Mother's vision, but it did. And with the support of her 501c3 organization, MOA, the Military Officers Association of America, Granbury chapter. Gail Joyce is the Gold Star Mother I speak of, and she was unable to be here tonight, but it was her fallen son, Army Ranger Sergeant James Casey Joyce, killed in action September 3rd, 1993 in Mogadishu, Somalia, better known as Black Hawk Down. I did not know that when I jumped on board with her. Yes, his character is portrayed in the movie. And her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Larry Joyce, passing away from the effects of Agent Orange, Vietnam. As well, that inspired her to keep the memories alive of not only her own, but all fallen heroes on Memorial Day in Granbury. She saw this program on the West Coast while visiting a sister and brought it back to Granbury. What an honor. For 12 years now, Gail has been going strong in our community to keep all heroes front and center, but this year is the final year. Gail has announced she will be stepping down at 85 years young. Plans are in place, though, for a handoff of the program to another prideful entity, so be ready. You think we're going to let this program go? The Granbury area will still withhold this iconic event. For this year, the last opportunity to see 500 flags at the No Memorial Field near HEB will be this coming Memorial Day weekend from Friday, May 24th to Monday, Memorial Day, May 27th. An exceptional closing ceremony will take place on Memorial Day at 2 p.m., and it's not going to be missed if you know what goes into these ceremonies. The field will be open to the public from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day. Flags with your hero's name attached and the hero banners can be purchased on our website, honoringhometownheroes.org, or by filling out a trifold and returning it to me. I have some here at the front, or I have some there at the back, the table where you enter the room. My contact is on the back of the trifold. Flags are $30 and hero banners $150, with proceeds going into MOA's Veteran Assistance Fund for Families in Need. Things like wheelchair ramps, assistance with utility bills, etc. We have a big veteran community here, and they need help. Some of them need help. This is what these organizations do. Veterans, it's family actually, military is family. Additional portions going into MOA's Surviving Spouses program and Granbury High School's Marine Corps JROTC program as well. I believe it was year before last that MOA purchased a trailer for our Marine Corps JROTC to travel with their equipment. It's a really nice trailer. Again, my name is Kathy Castro, and if anyone has any questions or would like to volunteer at this event, because it's all volunteer-based, volunteers. I'll be glad to take your call or text. I can be reached via the website also. And as I mentioned, trifolds are up here at the back. In the trifolds, you can fill out the information to order a flag or a banner. And again, just, if you need to speak with someone with questions, give me a call. I will answer your call. I hope to see you out at the Honoring Hometown Heroes and the Field of Flags event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, and you can order these online, so if you pick up one of those little folders that she has back there, and that, it's a great program, and it does a good service. So I love seeing all those flags in that field out there. Okay, could I have Steve Biggers. He's got a couple of announcements to make. First one is to kind of wrap up the convention.
Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate it. Good evening, real Republicans, as always.
Who was here Saturday? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. 150 plus people. We planned for 100 on the food. 71, I think, delegate applications. You can only go 45 delegates, and we had 25 alternates, and I believe we'll probably take all 45. There's a really enthusiastic grassroots movement here in Hood County. It was pretty amazing, even for a novice chairman, and where we dropped the ball on some things. It was so glitzy that people didn't recognize, so it's kind of worked out pretty well. So I appreciate that. So thanks for coming. It was a great, I think. The resolutions will be coming out later on. Everybody was really hangry about 1:30, and they wanted to go. So we just did like we did in 2022. We blanketly accepted the slate of resolutions. We have to get those together for RPT to go to the state convention, but we will be posting those so everybody knows what passed, failed. But I can say nothing came out of the resolutions committee with a minority report. Anybody that understands that knows it was a 3-0 up on the resolution or a 3-0 down on the resolution. No conflicts back there. So everything that passed, just very, very well. So there's a special family that we're gonna honor tonight. These people are pretty amazing. Will the Brown family come up here? So just line up out here in front. I want to read this first just so we can kind of get an idea. Where's the little kid? No, the only boy in the room. Where's he?
Joshua.
Okay, let me read this first and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, Hood County Republican Party. The Hood County Republican Party and the Hood County Republican Club would like to officially recognize, commend, and thank the Jim and Monica Brown family of Granbury, Texas, and their 6 adorable, hardworking, obedient, and highly motivated children for their service to the principles of freedom, liberty, and limited government of Hood County. Let me tell you how this started. Jim said, "Hey, come on, kids, we're going to take a field trip." And they started knocking on doors. These children have volunteered their time to block walk service pages, which they were here Saturday doing yeoman's work, for Hood County Republican Convention, and do it with the joy and eagerness to learn and do the job well. And you guys do. Our community is blessed to have such a young citizens who grow into young adults and someday have families of their own. The foundations laid by their parents will enable them to continue the principles and traditions of effective self-government to help preserve the wonderful God-inspired idea called the United States of America, built on these principles espoused in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. God bless these children and the parents. Signed by me, the County Republican Chairman. Here you go, folks. We now So this is for the family. This is a flag that was flown over the Austin Capitol on 3/2/19, and there's a challenge coin for thank you for your service. Mike Lang was a representative at the time. There's this for you guys. And these two, 2,500 doors, something like that. If I get the names wrong, just switch them around, okay?
I don't know who
So we have a runoff coming up May 28th, and we have 3 people that are members of this club, and I want to have them come up and speak to you a little bit. I know Orville, I didn't see him come in, but we do have Greg Harrell here for the GOP chair, and we have Sissy Freeman from Precinct 1 Justice of the Peace. So we're going to give them a couple minutes. Sissy, you want to go first?
How's everybody doing tonight? It's nice to be here. I appreciate you letting me come up and speak. Some of you already know, my name is Sissy Freeman. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Hood County Precinct 1. I've been in that office for the last almost 6 years. I am Judge Howell's chief clerk and office manager now. There's not a piece of paper that gets to his desk that I don't see first. So it'll be an easy, smooth transition when I'm elected. But the main thing we got to remember right now, guys, is we've got to get voters to the polls. So I know y'all will vote. You got to tell 5 people, tell them to tell 5 people, tell them to tell 5 more. It's so important because that's a holiday weekend. I know that it's early voting we have the week before, which is great because I wasn't aware. I've learned a lot about a runoff election, but we got to get people to the polls. I want to share one more thing. I was in a clerk school last week, and this just resonated with me. I think we already do this in our office, but I kind of wish we could do this in our county. We've got to have public trust. There are always 2 sides to every story. Let's continue to treat people with dignity. People just want to be heard. And you know what? Respect can be contagious, like a smile. If you will smile at people and show respect, we may not always have the same opinion or get along in our thoughts, but let's love on each other. Let's be kind. That's free. And I see a room full of smiles right here today, and I like that. I just want to encourage you again to vote. If you live in my precinct, I encourage you to vote for me. I will be the best choice. I will work hard, and I am looking forward to serving Hood County. Thank you so much.
Well, good evening, Republicans. My name is Greg Harrell. I am running for County GOP Chair. As Sissy said, I'm in a runoff election for my position as well. A lot of you know me, but I want to change things up a little bit tonight rather than talk about me. I just want to thank everybody that was really involved in the entire elections process this last go-around. I think we had a lot of community engagement as the incoming Republican GOP chair. I'm very encouraged by that. I want to see that level of engagement continue to increase, and hopefully we'll be able to make Hood County that powerhouse Republican conservative bastion that it should be. Amen? Amen. So, anyway, I appreciate your vote on May 28th. I do want to encourage you in some areas in regards to Texas conservatism. Many of you probably are not aware of this, but we elected here in Hood County, we elected a wonderful slate of precinct chairs. And I'm so much looking forward to being able to work with those good men and women on the executive committee that will be coming in sometime later this year. So that's something for me to look forward to, and it's something that you ought to be looking forward to as well. On a statewide level, Governor Abbott, and this is important in the context of the school bond that's coming up here in GISD, Governor Abbott endorsed 14 candidates for State House, 14 challengers, because the incumbents opposed school choice. Of those 14 challengers that he endorsed for that very reason, 7 of them won their races outright, 5 of them are in runoffs, and only 2 lost. So we are seeing a conservative move here in the state of Texas, and we want that to continue. We put 3 conservative candidates back on the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and that, if you don't know about that, that is a huge deal for you as a citizen of the state of Texas. We need to continue the momentum. I hope that I can be part of that momentum going forward on May 28th. And one more thing. I know that the political environment so overwhelming for many of us that, you get to a point where you just feel like, oh my goodness, is there one more thing? Is there one more election? Is there one more candidate? Do we have to do another thing? Well, I just want to encourage you, in 2 Thessalonians, the Apostle Paul is talking about how bad things will get towards the end of the world. And he transitions into two statements that are amazing to me as he talks about how things kind of get bad. And he encourages the readers of this letter to say, stand fast and do not grow weary of doing good. So let's stand fast, Hood County. Let's do not grow weary of doing good. I look forward to your vote on May 28th. Vote for Greg Harrell. Thank you.
Well, as we were talking about, there are the two elections in May. The May 4th is a bond election. May 28th is the runoff for these candidates. As you just heard, they need our army. And like Sissy said, 5 and ask them to invite 5 and ask them to invite 5 and get those people to the polls. Because I know that the other side is looking to bring theirs. So we have to defeat this. Greg didn't say it, but I'm going to say it. Greg is the only candidate running in this race that hadn't had a Democrat sign in his yard. So it just tells you about the other side. So we got to get the big pile, okay? The second one is the GISD bond on May 4th. It seems the school board wants to continue putting bonds in front of you until they can just wear you down. What is this, the third one in what, a year and a half or something? So when I took a look at this bond, I thought, man, this looks like a pork bill straight out of Congress. Let's put everything in there because maybe they won't notice and they'll just give us all this money. Always remember, the devil is in the details. And you need to look close at this bond because there's a lot of devil there. Just to name a few that I picked up, there's several out there, probably 10 or 12 I looked at real quick. But one of them is $154,000 for a crosswalk on 377 from the high school. Well, where would that be? To me, that'd be like maybe Pirate Drive that goes across 377 there by Tractor Supply. I wonder how many high school students actually walk across 377 there. That would need a crosswalk. And why would a high school student need a crosswalk? Don't they know how to use a red light, green light, and make a road crossing? This just seems unreal to me. The next one is a $142,995 for a roof leak. A roof leak. They want to put it on a 30-year bond. Another one that really blew my mind was $132,699 to put an ornamental fence between the school and the church. So I guess they aren't wanting the kids to see the church. So anyway, those are just a few that just, I looked at and I went, what? So to me, these are things that could be budgeted through an M&O, and why they weren't, I don't know. The school board got a $1 million plus kind of free money from HCAD not too long ago. I think most of y'all know about that. It would seem like they could take some of that money and pay for these little small things and wouldn't make you pay 30-year interest on something so small. It's just ridiculous. Like I said, it looks like a lot of pork to me just to get extra money from you. So as you're looking at this bond, pay attention. So I think we have a little video that we can run on this.
Presented this information. Watch the numbers closely. Schools shouldn't be bad at math, but here in Hood County, they just might be, on purpose. The totals that you see here don't add up. So is the school district making up numbers to make any need for your money look more dramatic? What's more, if you look at capacity, it's not until 2028 that more capacity might be needed. And that extra capacity might not be needed at all because Dallas ISD and Fort Worth ISD are shuttering schools because of declining enrollment. Plus, birth rates for the U.S. and Texas are forecast to decline for the next 25 years. In a time of tremendous inflation and economic uncertainty, is it smart to spend your money when it might not be necessary? We as a community need to look at absolute needs and spend no more than what is critical right now. Some money should be spent. There is necessary maintenance, such as renovations to the driveways and school crossings. These costs, however, are just a fraction of the proposed bond. Money given to public entities must be accountable to the public when your hard-earned taxpayer money is spent on such things. We need to convene a forum to discuss what's proposed in the bond. For example, finishes are billed at $15.5 million, or 10.2% of the total project. What are finishes? We need these finishes to be defined so that we can better understand why that requires over $15 million of your tax money. Also, furniture and equipment are tagged at almost $7 million. What furniture? What equipment? Is this for new construction that might not be needed yet? These questions must be answered. They might tell you that you don't have to pay for this bond, but our children, if they remain in Hood County, will get that bill, and it's over $300 million with interest calculated. Who wants to saddle our children with $350 million once they become adults? That's in no way responsible, nor is it right, and you and I both know it. Schools should be good at math, and they must also be accountable to the people who foot the bill. We don't want our representatives in government to vote on bills they haven't read. And if you don't understand the details of this bond, then it's just as irresponsible for you to vote for it. For now, let's say no to the bond and really have some discussion about the future. Or we can saddle our children with the bill for $350 million, but we can't even give them the courtesy of telling them what they're buying with that money.
People out here really working hard on this, and we have a couple of them with us tonight. And so the first one I'm going to announce is on April the 2nd, Jerry Daugherty. I think most of y'all know Jerry. He's a retired superintendent, and he knows what these bonds are supposed to look like. So he's going to hold a town hall style event at 6:30 p.m. on April 2nd at Baton Baptist Church, 7178 Fall Creek. We'll put this out on our website, and we'll also put it on our Facebook page. But everybody needs to come there and listen to Jerry. He's got a good handle on what this bond is all about. And for you to take friends and that to come too. We need a big crowd. Okay? The second person I'm going to bring him up here. He's going to speak a little bit about a PAC that they're starting to form. So Denny, you want to come up here and talk a little bit about it? This is Denny Mond.
Thank you. So we have created a special purpose PAC. It's called Granbury Families, and the purpose of the PAC is to raise money and to spend that money to oppose this bond issue. We registered with the Texas Ethics Commission. We are now set up to receive contributions, either by check or if you want to pay by card. As of today, I now have the Square app on my phone, and I'm looking for the first person to give it a try. So if you're interested, please stop by and see me. And definitely need your support so that we can oppose this $300 million nuisance.
So they can find an app called an app at their website yet?
Not at this time, I don't believe. I believe that the website will be constructed, right? So.
All right, we'll get one out there.
Okay, guys, so this is a great deal. These people are working hard to put some different things together to get the word out about the bond. And so I know they're working hard on they're just almost right at the finish point of getting all their stuff together. But we want to go ahead and let you know there is a PAC out there working, and they're really working hard on that. To me, I just wanted to say this, because to me, when I was at the convention on Saturday, one of the persons at my table was Courtney Gore. And she and I got about bonds and elections and special elections. And I told her, I said, well, you know, the thing I see about you guys is that you want to have it all your way. Because you schedule it in May when it's not a normal election month, and then you want to put it on a Saturday. I said, that's so you can get all of your base, all of your school employees, and then out to the polls to vote, and you're going to usher them out there. Where the everyday citizen on a Saturday may be out doing other commitments, and you maybe forgot that they were supposed to vote or whatever. So I see you really kind of putting that more in your favor by the way you pull special elections. And she didn't respond back to her. So that was just another red flag to me. Let me see. I was just going to say, as the video said, there are things needed, but without the pork. They're pitching this just like they did last time. They're pitching it for the kids. They're pitching it all about the families and the kids and how you really need to help the kids. I don't see a lot in here helping the kids as far as education or helping them further their careers. So what I see here is that these kids today will be paying for this bond when they're grown. So that's what I see how they're working and helping the kids, giving them tangible. And I want to give the other thing they also talk about, and I talked to my Glenn about this today or whatever, they also talking about it's not going to raise your taxes. And that's just kind of a false, but not quite. So I want to give you an example. And these are not real numbers, these are just things I made up in my head. So we'll just go with it, it was easier. So the legislature passed a tax relief for you guys in the last session. Okay? And so let's say that your tax rate was 95 cents per square foot. Okay? They passed approved this to pay off, let's say, $15 of that in your M&O for the ISD, which is, I think most of you realize we had lower taxes this time, and that was due to our legislature. Okay. So what the bond is going to do, it's not going to put you back at the 95 cent rate, but it's going to put you, let's say, at the 90 cent rate. All right? So then let's say the next legislature comes in, and they say, oh, we're not going to approve that for this time. So they put the 15% back on, or they don't pay the 15%, sorry. They don't fill that void. Now you're at $1.05 per square foot. So no, they're not really actually raising your taxes to the point they were before, but they're not raising your taxes, you know, so that's just my take on it. Okay, now I'm done with that. Scott London is back with us for our constitutional lessons.
Good to be back. Yeah. So, I'm not going to start with my usual quiz. I think this one we know how many rights are enumerated in the First Amendment, right? If you don't, right? 5, right? We knew that, right? And at this point, if you're cheating, you could name all 5, right? But without looking, how many of y'all think you could name all 5? Okay, I know we got a few. I know we have some in the room that could, okay? So, speech, press, religion, maybe going out of order, assembly, and the right to petition for redress of grievances, right? And guess what? Every one of those you'll also find, where? In the Texas Constitution. Put me in the next slide there. And so I kind of laid it all out where we see our First Amendment carries over into our Texas Constitution, right? And so, at this point, we've been going through the Texas Constitution for a little over 3 years now. Hard to believe it, isn't it? We've been up here doing this for 3 years. And so we're up to section 27. And so go ahead and give me that last slide. Right of assembly, petition for redress of grievances we see in section 27. In the first part we see, the citizens shall have the right in a peaceful manner to assemble together for common good and apply to those invested with the powers of government for redress of grievances or other purposes by petition, address, or remonstrance. Okay, so we see the language varies just a little bit, but now here's one of my other little pop quizzes. So what was the only lawful restriction on assembly? Peaceful. That's right. So any other restriction is actually an unlawful restriction. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is that very last word, remonstrance. Oh, wait, can you give me that last slide? There we are. Remonstrance. Now, that's not a word we use in common language today. As a matter of fact, I looked it up, and it looks like we haven't been using that word nearly as frequently as we did 150, 200 years ago. And so, what is a remonstrance? A remonstrance is defined as a protest, an objection, an earnest presentation of reasons for opposition, a complaint, a grievance, or a criticism. So these aren't nice words that we're saying to our government. As a matter of fact, that first one, what was it? Protest. Which kind of gives us some indication, we're talking about more than just words, right? We're talking about some actions here. A protest is when the people come together and actually do something more than just talk. Which means we have a constitutional right to do more than just complain about our government. Now, how often do we watch the news or we talk about what's going on, certainly in D.C., absolutely in Austin, or maybe right here even in Hood County, and all we do is complain about it? We're only using a fraction of our right. We can do so much more, even according to the Constitution. And we absolutely should. And I think we talked about it tonight. We're seeing this grassroots movement here in Hood County. I think that needs to continue to build. Okay? Because until we actually let the government know that we're serious, we're not just that noise that's annoying. We need to be a little bit more than just annoying. We need to let them know what is right and what is wrong. Because to me, that's not just a right, that's an obligation. Okay? Now I'm going to double back to that first one. We talked about the right to peaceably assemble. And here's a good object lesson or a real life story. How many of y'all are old enough to remember 2020? Good. How many of y'all remember hearing some executive orders coming down out of Austin and even here in Hood County that said, you can't gather in a group larger than, and the numbers changed a little bit, 12, 10, and some kind of arbitrary number because some guy in a lab coat who gets really good money decided that was a good number to be a safe number, right? Y'all remember that? Yes. Matter of fact, a lot of people had to cancel their kid's birthday party because the birthday party would have been too large of an assembly. Was that a lawful restriction? No. Not at all. As a matter of fact, I had a friendly debate with the gentleman here in town, a very educated man, who he genuinely believed the best way to resolve the problem with those executive orders was for somebody to receive a citation for a violation so they could get in front of a judge, so a judge could tell us that that was either right or wrong. I have a problem with that. And my problem is actually a fairly big problem. Because, one, I take an oath, right? And our oath has some priorities in it. We can see the hierarchy in our oath, what our first obligation is to. And if you don't know what it is, I'll give you a hint. We call it the supreme law of the land. That means something, right? That means my first obligation is not to the laws, and certainly not to executive orders. My first obligation is to the Constitution. Now, are there times when there's some gray areas, and we might need some judges or some courts to define for us what is right and wrong? Sure. I mean, there's times where it's a little murky. Is that murky? No. That seems pretty darn clear to me. Okay? And so my problem with me going and issuing a citation that I know is wrong because it goes against the supreme law of the land. What kind of defense did the Nazis have in the Nuremberg trials? I was given orders. How well did that defense play out for them? Over 160 people were convicted in the Nuremberg trials despite the fact that I was simply following orders. Folks, we have to be a lot better about knowing what the Constitution says so that 2020 never happens again. Because we're on a path that if we're not careful, we're going to wind up again. So our elected officials, our guys that wear a uniform and a badge and a gun like me, we need to know the Constitution. And I'm sorry,
Some people might be offended when I say that our law enforcement don't know the Constitution. I don't say that to hurt feelings, but it's the truth. I was in the military. I served in the Air Force and the Army National Guard. I took an oath to this Constitution a number of times.
And had no clue what it said.
How can I defend something if I don't know what it says? And I don't mean that as an indictment on the individual wearing the uniform, but the system that they work in. Because we don't make it a priority. We don't teach our law enforcement. We don't teach our elected officials. We don't even complain to them that they should know the Constitution. And we should. We absolutely should exercise those rights enumerated in the First Amendment, freedom of speech, our ability to petition the government for redress of grievances. We need to protest and make sure that they know that they're obligated to this document above and beyond any other piece of paper that comes before them. Okay? The laws are in there. My oath is to the laws, not only of the United States, but of this state. But that comes after the Constitution. So let's continue this ball rolling. Let's make sure we get people involved. And I want to close with a quote. This is James Madison in Federalist 51, where he says, "If men were angels, no government would be necessary. But if angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary." Do we have angels running our government? We do not. That's why this exists. That's why this exists. Let's make sure that they know that this exists and that they're supposed to uphold their oath to this document. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
So each month, for us to be able to continue to pay our speakers and do our senior essay contest and supplies and July 4th parade and all the things we do, we pass a basket. Nothing's too small, just whatever you can give would be great. We would appreciate anything. So, oh yeah, Sharon forgot to ask the people to pass the basket to me. Bill Meeker's not here, he usually takes that for me. So, okay, so while they're doing that, we have a couple of door prizes. Tina's on her way up. Tickets. The first one's really cute. It was donated to us by Marianne Harrell, and it's really a cute prize. First of all, I have a $100 Trump bill. Anybody want a $100 Trump bill? Yeah. Second, I have some Trump socks. That's cute. Yeah. And I can't even draw for these. And then I have one more thing. One more thing, Trump. We have a Trump coin. Yeah, but thank you very much. Coin. All right, let's see who wins all these. 2859.
Bingo.
28. Huh? 2859. I love these. You can get these at Betty B on the square. I know Greg Neal would enjoy buying those on. Little commercial.
Speaking of commercial, I didn't mean to interrupt Steve a minute ago, but the Browns are in the promise this weekend and next weekend, right? So all of those that you saw here that worked so hard for the party, there is a promise this weekend and next weekend. Is it just those 2 weekends? Okay. So if you get a chance to go out there, I guess it'll be a wonderful, wonderful show.
He already said his wife was going to steal the socks. The other thing we have a donated book. It's, The Shower Party, How George Soros, Hillary Clinton, and the 60s radicals seized control of the Democrat Party. This was written by David Horowitz. And if you know David, he's very knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. This is a great book. So, see who wins that. 2846. I'll tell you what, I have one more. It's not signed, but most of them aren't signed, we missed this one. This is the hat that Roger Williams brought to all of us a couple of months ago, and it says, "In God We Trust." So I think it's a pretty neat hat to wear, so we'll do one more. Let's shuffle these up really good. I don't care how well I shuffle them up. 2834. 2834. I don't have This is Charles Beard's little girl, if y'all don't know. She's a cutie, isn't she? She helps separate all the tickets too, so she probably gets special dinner for Saturday.
Stack the deck.
We have a marvelous guest tonight. And I need about 5 minutes to tell you all the things that she's done, and I don't want to do that, but she's done so much. Professionally, she's a Texas State Bar. She's a Republican National Lawyer Association, National and State Election Integrity Training and Volunteer, former Duncanville City Council. She's been to the National Convention as a delegate 2 times, National Convention Organization Committee member, election judge, poll watcher, RPT Convention delegate 8 times, Senate District Credentials Committee chair, Senate District Nominations Committee chair, Convention parliamentarian, precinct chair, the Texas Federation of Republican Women's Parliamentarian Club president, Republican field office volunteer, and personally, she is a wife and homeschooling mom of 6 children, and there's some people in here who can relate to that, right? She's a mom of a Marine. She's actually a Navy veteran herself. Grandma of 3, Blum First Baptist Church. BEST, as in B-E-S-T. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it's probably the best. Robotics coach. 4-H mom.
Page 10. She's amazing. Wait till you hear. So,
she's a grassroots activist and attorney, and she works to preserve liberties and amplify our grassroots voice. And I am really excited to introduce Leslie Thomas.
Thanks. Believe it or not, this is like the second presentation I've done. I've always been in the background, and the first one was at the Grand River Republican Women's Club. So I'm new at this, but there are a whole lot of great things going on, so I have my PowerPoint in my hand. It's right up there too. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the Texas Christian Conservative Grassroots. I was raised as a Democrat. My grandfather was a union organizer. He was pro-life. He was pro-Second Amendment. He was everything that the Republican is now, except he set up picket lines. When I was a little girl, I remember going to the grocery store. My mom got out the local Piggly Wiggly, and she got right back in the car, and she said, was like, what's going on? And she's like, well, in this family, there's three things that we don't do and do. We don't cross the picket line. We pay our taxes, and we pay our tithes. So that's how I was raised. When I remember as a little girl going to the elementary school for my first precinct convention, and the auditorium was packed, standing room only. I remember them standing on the sides and in the back, and all the seats were filled at the school auditorium, and it was the Democratic precinct primary. And out in the hallway was this table, and there were 4 people sitting at this table, and they were the Republicans. So, how do I get from there to here? Well, how does Texas go from Democratic to Republican? Well, that's my journey. I went off to college. I was on the student council as a senator. I was in Naval ROTC. I had to wear my uniform on Thursday. That was when we met. The Democrats didn't like me sitting with them because I had my military uniform on. And they told me I had to go sit on the other side because I was more Republican, because I wasn't pro-choice. I wasn't supporting the Sandinistas down in wherever it was. And I wasn't, and I was pro-military, obviously. So this is my background, and I'm sure this is your background too, for a lot of y'all. How many of y'all were involved in the 70s in the Republican Party? Okay. Y'all need to find me, because I need some history. How many of y'all were involved in the 80s in the Republican Party? Okay, that's when I started getting involved. What about the 90s? You got involved in the 90s, started. How many of y'all are brand new into the party? You just started. Okay, so we got some. So y'all go back to when things started to flip. So y'all will know a lot of this history. So if you can change the slide. So y'all remember the 1976 Republican Convention, right? It was the last open convention that the Republicans had. Gerald Ford had his delegates, Ronald Reagan has had his delegates, and they didn't have enough to get the nominations. So they were fighting over the at-large, the uncommitted. And y'all know the stories, right? President Ford would take these delegates on Air Force One and invite them to the White House and all that. Well, anyway, what happened was that they did not seek California, and so President Ford is the sitting president, so he has a lot to say on what goes on in this convention. So he doesn't seek the Republicans, the Texas Republicans and the California Republicans, who at that time were very Republican, California was, together. They were on both sides of the thing, so that they couldn't talk and they couldn't, strategize. So what they did was they got these plastic horns and they just blew them at each other, and they pretty much shut down the convention. And it was being televised, right? And they shut it down for hours, and they just had to just not do anything. Well, finally, President Ford gets his delegates, and he's announced the winner. And there's no time for President Reagan to speak. There was a lot of time. But President Ford graciously gives him the last 5 minutes. And go look at that speech. That last 5 minutes defined the Republican Party going forward. He was going to be our nominee in 4 years. And from that speech forward, the grassroots knew what we had to do, and we knew where we needed to go. So he became our leader. Also, at that 1976 convention, the pro-life plank got added to the national platform. So remember, Republicans were not always pro-life. And in Texas, it got added later. And that's an interesting story. I'll tell you about that later. So then we have Chairman Ministeri. Do y'all remember Chairman Ministeri? Steve Ministeri was the chairman of the party for two times. Well, anyway, he was there at 1976 convention, and he was a Reagan Raider. And the Reagan Raiders came from Texas. They were young conservatives, and they were just like whipping it up. There's T-shirts, there's comic books. I mean, they created this whole subculture for Reagan, these guys. Well, he was one of those. He was conservative grassroots. And he became our chairman. He was the first chairman of the party that really listened to the grassroots. And he didn't stand in our way. If we got the votes, he let it go through. He was a really good chairman in that respect. So, next slide. So in 94, 97, we have Tom Hopkins. Y'all remember Tom Hopkins? He was the state chair during that time. Staunch Christian grassroots. Well, he was not George W. Bush's choice. And at the convention, he got out with the little hobbits, all this grassroots, that he was not the George Bush's choice, so that kind of elevated him, and so he got elected as state chair. That year, the state, so the grassroots are really taking over during this time, and there were rump conventions. Y'all know what a rump convention is? Yeah, we need to have that. That was like the best time. Where you had two conventions, and one in a county convention. One would say, we're the right one, we follow the rules, and the other one would say, no, we're the right ones, we follow the rules. And they'd go down to the state, they'd put on evidence, and the credentials committee would judge to see which one was the correct delegation, and then they would seat them. And there were a lot of those. And those were mainly by Christian evangelicals that were trying to get in, but the establishment was keep them out. So they learned the law, they learned the rules, and they got in that way. So the state, every fourth year we have a third day of the convention, of the state convention, and on that third day we take care of national business. So we have a national nominations committee, and they select delegates, that large delegates, and it's kind of like a free-for-all, and it's horse trading, it's sharp elbows, and you really have to have someone on that committee that knows what they're doing, that knows the people, and that's not shy. So during that time when Chairman Hopkins had been elected, all these grassroots decided not to seat any elected official. They were all grassroots. No elected officials could go, not even the governor, George W. Bush, the president's son. And so when they went to convention, Tom Hopkins was gracious enough that whenever the camera was going to be on, he would release his seat and they would seat the governor of Texas, George W. Bush. So that's kind of that will come up later, because that inspired the Rule 34A in our Texas Republican platform, which says that no elected official may be a delegate except the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the vice chair. They can be an alternate. And the reason why is they would be elected as a delegate, and they're up walking around and meeting people and talking to people, and they're not sitting in their seat. But for their delegate to be seated, they have to tag him in. And those delegates are sitting up in the nosebleed section. And so they just wouldn't even bother to go get them. And so their seats empty, and they were off, socializing. So anyway, that was taken care of, I think, last Rules Committee, because people, it was such a harsh sting that we pretty much didn't have to write a rule. Everybody remembered it until the time before last. And then they started, they were strong-arming the committee members on the nominations committee. And they were saying, no, I have to put in this elected official because they really want it. And I have to do it for this one. And so the elected officials were strong-arming the committee members. So, and they did. But the interesting thing is that we didn't have a national committee convention. COVID happened. So they were sitting in their living room like all of us. So, and then after that we put this rule in, and so now we have that to guard the grassroots. Because going as a national delegate is a reward to the grassroots. It's your reward for working really hard. It's your reward for this party. And that's really all it is, because all the business is pretty much done, unless you're on a couple of committees. So this is Marion Phillips. She was the staff, the unpaid staff, that worked 14 hours a day for Tom Podkins. It was the first time in the history of the Texas Republican Party that they held primaries in every state. There was one held in a chicken coop, but it was a primary. She went out and trained all the new Republican county chairs all over the state of Texas. She was she also is noted for helping get the pro-life plank into the platform. She was in the platform committee just as an observer, and this lady came in that was pro-life, who was part of the establishment, and she got up and she made her statement about how it should remain pro-life. You know, they should be fiscally conservative but not socially, because we don't want to offend people. But Tom Craddock was the chairman of that committee, and he goes, "Well, I don't know. You look like you have something to say." And he called on Marion Phillips, and it gave her a chance to talk about the pro-life movement, and that's how it got in. That's, you know, God puts His places, right? And when you get called on, you need to stand in that gap, and He will move. The next slide. These are heroes, my opinion, of the Rules Committee. These are men who served on the Rules Committee, unassuming, every 2 years, going to spend a whole week thrashing through these rules, but they held the line for the grassroots Christian conservatives. Both of them have since passed before their time. They both died of heart attacks, and Clint Moore is responsible for getting the delegate count up to 9,000. Is there anyone here going as a delegate that's never been before? Anyone that's never? Okay. It should be on everyone's bucket list to go to a Texas Republican State Convention. It is the largest political convention in the history of the world, today and in history. It is because of Clint Moore. They had a small number, because you can control a small number of delegates, and the grassroots can't get together, and they can't talk, and they can't organize, so you keep it small. So he incrementally, I can say that right, raised that number over the years until they got it to be between 7,500 and 9,000. That's delegates. You can have send as many as alternates, 7,500 to 9,000 alternates, plus elected officials, plus guests, plus media. So it is huge. I mean, when you're in the hall, it can be really loud here, and you walk over there, and you can't even hear it, because it's just so loud. I mean, it's just so vast. But that's where all the magic happens, and it's a lot of things going on there. And then Chris McDonald, he was the one who came up with legislative priorities. It was his thing. I was on the rules. I've served on the rules committees with both these guys, I was on the Rules Committee. He came up to me and Clint and a couple of other guys, and they said, look, I think we can use this to get what we need to do because Rule 44 is not working. You know what Rule 44 is? It's the censor. And if you get censored, I mean, it's just a piece of paper, right? And you just a tool that you use to run against them in politics, yeah. But it doesn't really do anything. Well, legislative priorities, he had this vision. So we were also trying to close the primaries. And so they were too busy putting out that fire that they kind of weren't watching the legislative priorities, and it won by one vote. So that's how we got legislative priorities. And that's Rule 33B4. Next one. So how many legislative priorities passed the first year of us having that committee? 0. We had the state party had a committee. The state Republican executive committee members were on that committee. We had a great chair, Mark Ramsey. We had a staff member in the legislators who we would call, and they would give us advice, and we would do calling. 0. I'm talking about constitutional carry. I'm talking about right to life, the basics, the easy things to pass. They weren't passing the easy things. The next year, okay, maybe we didn't try hard enough. The next year, how many do you think we passed? Next slide. 0. That was under Chairman Dickey. Change slides. So the third year of us having legislative priorities, we got 2 really big ones: a heartbeat bill and defend our gun rights, constitutional carry. 2 really big ones, and that was a. You should have been. Were any of y'all down there in the Capitol when they did the constitutional carry one? It had overflow rooms that didn't have seating. They had people out in the hallway. It was tremendous. And then the heartbeat bill was just the same. And we finally got it over the line, but we couldn't get Ginger Mod for Kids banned. For 2 months, I was the driver, go-to person, the attorney for Jill Glover, and she was the chairman. Well, I'll get into that story later. So next slide. So what happened? Why did we all of a sudden get 2 that we didn't have before we had 2 zeros? Chairman West and Committeewoman Jill Glover had a vision. Actually, it's more Chairman West. Jill Glover implemented it. They had this vision of having rallies all over the state of Texas. And the whole committee of the Legislative Priorities Committee and the SRAC would go to these rallies, and each one was tasked to speak on their priority. And then they would sign people up, and they would inform people, and then they would organize. And then they would give action items for everyone to do. So back in the 1920s, at the elite schools, the political scientists, came up with this formula on what makes the grassroots powerful. So do y'all know the 3 elements of fire? You have to have 3 elements for fire, right? What are they? Oxygen, heat, and fuel. You take out one of those, you kill the fire. In the Navy, we get drunk on this because a fire on the ship is not a good thing. So you get drunk on this. So what are the 3 things? They came up with 3 things that you need to take out. If you take out one, then you can prevent the grassroots from having power. And they didn't come up with this so that they could empower the grassroots. They came up with this to figure out how they could dampen the grassroots. And those 3 things are education. Inform yourselves. You have to get informed. You have to know. The second one is organization. You get together and you organize based on the information that you have. And the third one is action. You put put it, you implement it, and you go. Well, those last 2 sessions, that's what happened. They went around, they informed, they organized, and then they put it into action. And Chairman Rinaldi, he stepped in because Chairman West resigned so he could run for governor, and then Chairman Rinaldi was reelected, and he fine-tuned it. And you can see his fine-tuning on the next slide. We had 35 passed. 35 legislative priorities. We have been used to giving this speech on, can you believe what these people passed, and we go on and on about the bad stuff that passed, and 0 about what the good stuff is. Now we got 35. 35. And that's little. We've got momentum. So, just a side story, the people in Florida and other states have reached out to Chairman Rinaldi asking them about how we did legislative priorities because they want to implement it. Texas was the first. It was a trailblazer in this. And so this is game-changing. Next slide. So when you go to the convention, the Legislative Priorities Committee will come up with 15 priorities. And then they will send them out to the delegates of the convention. And the delegates will vote. And then they will take the top 8 of those 15. And those will be the legislative priorities. Those are the priorities that the Republican Party of Texas will put their time and their resources to get done. So any bill that is related to any of these priorities, we will work on as a party. Now, there are other priorities that we work on, as a side, but as a party, and the party resources, these are the main ones. So this past year, it was gender modification of children. We got 1. It was a complete ban, and they went after the public funding for it. And the second one was stop sexualizing kids. There was 4 of them. Parental rights and educational freedom 4. Abolish abortion in Texas. The heartbeat bill is close. They want to abolish all abortion. So even before you can detect a heartbeat, we want to protect that life. Protect our elections were 9. Secure the border and protect Texans was 6. And defend our gun rights. Constitutional carry, they called it that, but it wasn't really, because if you're under 21, you don't have a constitutional right. So they took it to court. It's in court now. Some low court judges have ruled that it's not constitutional. You can't carry it. And the law isn't. That the 18-year-olds to 21-year-olds can carry a gun. And many sheriffs and police departments in Texas have said, we're not going to enforce this law on the 18 to 21-year-olds. They may also constitutional carry. Okay, the next slide. So the other ones, the lower 6 of the priorities that didn't pass, the convention that passed out of committee, we took home on those too. Protect medical freedom, stop executive overreach, eliminate property tax, and they didn't eliminate anything, they reduced it. There were 5 of those. Protect the electric grid. There's 2 of those. Senator Bob Hall he's a master of incrementally getting laws passed until he gets the big picture done. Banning taxpayer funding for lobbyists. This is a huge one. Don't know when. So a school person who's an administration person, they're paid by the taxpayers, right? And they go down to Austin on their salary to lobby against the taxpayers' interest. This is what this addresses. They can go down and lobby, but they can't be paid by the school district to lobby against the taxpayer interest. And this has been on the priorities list for a long time, because we know if we can nip this in the bud, that takes care of 80% of so many things. So, and it got get to a hearing. Now we're almost 90% there. So we hope that this time around we can get across the line. Save Women's Sports. So the last session before last, they prohibited boys from competing against girls in public schools, secondary schools. This time around, they elevated it to colleges and universities. Next slide, please. So these are the bills that we got passed. And I want you to look at these bills and think to yourself, if the Legislative Priorities Committee and all the little grassroots hobbits going around doing their little thing, shoulder to shoulder, no one, because we're all, anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. If they had been doing their thing, these would not have been passed. They would not have been. Gender modification. 4 years ago, I was down there, and Jill and I went down 3 to 4 times a week. In April and May, during the session. And we would constantly be walking from one office to the other office. And the only thing that she was really working was gender mod. Because it's such a horrific evil in our presence. And I can tell you that we would be sent to, it's in committee. It needs a hearing. It's in the parliamentarian's office. We can't do it because the Health and Human Services won't do it. We can't do it because this lawyer says that it will be a problem. So we walked from office to office and talked to everyone that we could to figure out, what am I missing? Why aren't these people seeing it the way we see it? And I can tell you this, and I rarely name names because I really believe that God has his people. But Stephanie Click was the big boulder in the way. We would call Senator Hall a lot of times, and we'd say, it's been killed in this committee, we need another one. Within 48 hours, he'd have it out of the Senate into the House, refiled another bill. It's been killed in that committee. The last bill was approved in 24 hours. He would get the Senate to act on it. The Senate saw the urgency of it. The House would not. And that was under the chairman of Dave Phelan. I do not understand the evil that kept that in place for 2 years. Well, this time it came out again. The Senate did it. The Senate led. Senator Campbell led with her legislation. It gets passed over to the House, and then it makes it through the House. But the House did not lead at all. But because of some of the outcry, then I think that's why the House let it pass through. The next one is stop sexualizing Texas kids. And just as an aside, these priorities, you think, these make sense. But what's interesting is a lot of these priorities were passed before they made the news, before they became a big problem. And it's almost as if God, like the election integrity ones, it was almost as if the Lord was saying, this is what's coming up. You need to be in place. You need to have this in place because it's coming up. And sure enough, stop sexualizing kids and the election integrity and the gender mod, it was like a low burn. A lot of people just didn't even know about it. But to God's providence, it got to be a legislative priority so that we could work on that when it did become inflamed. So Senator Patterson Representative Patterson passed a ban on sexually explicit media in public schools. Why would they have to pass that? That should be common sense. Plus, it's against the criminal code. Representative Cody Harris, more serious consequences for educators who provide harmful material for a minor. If they get deferred adjudication, they don't have to register as a sex offender. But after you pass this, if you get deferred adjudication, you still have to register as a sex offender. Representative Sheehan, civil penalty for minor who has access to a porn website, and that shuts down the website business in Texas. Because if it's going on in Texas, then we can sue them civilly and shut them down. SB 12, restrict sexually oriented performance for minors. You don't know about that, the drag queen shows. So if it's in a public place or commercially enterprised place, then they're not allowed to do it. Protect our elections, next slide. SB 1070, interstate voter registration was operated by is to be operated by the Secretary of State, not Eric. So Debbie Duke did this. She would wake up at 4 in the morning and do her research. For months. There's no one who knows this better than she did. And then she would go to Austin, and she would meet with these representatives, and she would explain to them. And she did this for weeks, explaining to them about the ERIC system, about how it was being misused, and how Soros and Zuckerberg, they were using it for misuse. Because if you look at it just at a glance, you think, oh yeah, that's good. That's good that we cooperate with other states to remove voters off their voter rolls. That's not what it was used for. So anyway, big thank you to Debbie Duke for that one. She pretty much carried that one over the line by herself. Senator Hughes did the SB 1599. The election administrator must maintain a register for ballots voted by mail. Did we not keep track of this? Evidently, we didn't have to. There's no law saying we had to. So that's why all these mail-in ballots that came in, we're just like, oh well, here's another one. Oh well, here's another one. Is this registered? No, we don't keep a registration on these. Yeah, we do know. Representative 1299, Representative Noble did the signature on mail ballots in ink and no electronic signature. There are, issues with that. And then Bencourt did the abolish county EAs in large counties. So you gotta know what an election administrator is, right? That position is created by the Commissioner's Court to take over the responsibility that the county clerk and the tax assessor used to have. And they're only answerable to the county, to this election council. And the only way they can get fired is if the Commissioner's Court, the county judge, the tax assessor, the county clerk, the Republican chair, and the Democratic chair agree to fire him. And I think it's 4 out of 5 they have to agree. So once you get a lousy EA in, you're pretty much stuck with it. It's an awful thing, and they're not accountable anymore to the voters. That's why the large county of 3.5 million, any county that has over 3.5 million, they no longer have an EA. They have to go back to the county clerk and the tax assessor. The tax assessor will be the registrar, and the county clerk will administer their elections. Of course, they'll inherit everything from the EA, but those two people are accountable to the voters. And I don't know how y'all do it. Y'all probably have an EA. I don't know. But I know in York County we have an EA. And he is a thorn in our flesh. It's 85% Republicans, and he's a Democrat. And how did he get that job? Anyway, that's a side note. So Senator Cohorst did death records so that Health and Human Services did not have to tell the Secretary of State that people were dying. So now they have to, once a week, and the Secretary of State has to take them off the voter rolls. Representative Hefner, illegal voting for a felony. So this isn't 4 years ago, they passed the, it's against the law to illegally vote, but it's a misdemeanor. Well, when it passed the Senate and it passed the House, it was a felony. When it went to committee, it came out, and it was a misdemeanor, and they voted for it. Who do you think switched it from being a misdemeanor to a felony? No, a Republican attorney, Elizabeth Alvarez Bino, switched it. And how do we know that? Because Jill Glover and I were down there walking the halls, tracing it back until we find out who did it. So, do not trust anyone, verify it, read it, and not everyone's on your side. Constitutional amendment, our senator did a joint resolution for a constitutional amendment that makes voting, that you have to be an American citizen to vote. Pretty obvious, but, things are going another way. So that's, you will vote on that in November. That will be on the general ballot. So you will vote on that. And Texans will decide whether they want citizens only voting in their elections. Senator Bedcourt process to codify to address election issues process. So right now, if there's an election issue, like you go in and you see an irregularity, there's really not a legislative process for you to go through. You have to go to civil court. And I've been through some of those in Dallas. It takes 3 years for you even to get to the part of where you do subpoenas. But here, all of a sudden, you have a process. So now if you see an irregularity, there's a process that you can go through that's codified. Secure the border and protect Texas. Next slide. Border Patrol required to get certified in order to make arrests under state law and only in designated areas. So they were making arrests, but they're federal. They're not state. So we passed a law saying, okay, in order for you to make an arrest under state law, you have to get certified under the state training process, and you can only do it in these areas. Senator Parker passed the Interstate Compact for Interstate Compact. So that means, you know what I'm talking about, it's a compact with other states. And what this does, so Governor Abbott now has authority to make a compact with other governors of other states for the barrier, for our border, for surveillance systems, and for deterring criminal activity for the border, for border security. So if you notice that a lot of the friendly states to Texas are sending their National Guard down here to help us, and we're also they're lending us some of their resources. Senator Birdwell passed the Foreign Terrorist Organization. So there's in the criminal code there's this thing called a criminal street gang, and this whole code about if you've been determined a criminal street gang, these are the bad things that are going to happen to you, and these are the things that you can't do. Senator Birdwell added to that federal foreign terrorist organizations. So once you get to, it's determined that you're a foreign terrorist organization, all these bad things can happen to you. And one of them is assembly. You can't even get together. It's against law. The other one is a pact with Mexican states to fight criminal activity. So the Mexican states on our southern border, they don't like this criminal activity, right? So now Governor Abbott has authority to make pacts with their, leaders to fight the crime. And they increased the punishment for smuggling of persons and the operations of stash houses. I think the minimum was 2 years, and they upped that to 10 years, and for one, and the other one they upped the minimum to 15 years. Then you have the state criminal offense to illegal enter or be present in the state. That y'all heard about that, right? It went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, yeah, Texas can do it. And then, overnight they filed a pleading, and they had it stayed again at the Fifth Circuit. So that's on stay right now. Parental rights and educational freedom, instructional material the parents have to be given access to it, and it has to have a review process. The national motto may be displayed in the public schools and colleges and universities. vaccine, mask mandate for public schools, colleges, universities, or private or public school closures. And then Senator Middleton, women only in college sports. Eliminate property tax. Revive Chapter 313 in the Revenue Code. This is really important to some people, but it has, I'm not a numbers person, I'm a words person, so I take it word for it. It limits school districts' 10-year limit on a project valued for M&O tax purposes. So, another one is property tax relief from school finances. Okay, so here are all the tax relief part that we put under a limited property tax. Revenue report filing exemption for franchise tax for non-owing businesses. So what they were doing is even if you own a business and you do not qualify to pay this franchise tax, you still have to file this form, and you have to prove that you don't have to. So they got rid of that requirement. So small businesses no longer have to file that. Constitutional amendment for property tax relief for school finance systems. So this will be on your ballot in November. It's going to restrict the property taxes that the school district has access to. Now, this is not an elimination of property tax, but our guys are down there, and they're looking at it as an incremental. Okay, we're slowly taking things away from them, and that's their goal. The other ones are passing it because it was Governor Abbott's big thing, property tax relief. So medical freedom is a ban on the private sector mandating COVID-19 vaccine. So earlier, Senator Birdwell had passed where the public schools couldn't do it, or public entity couldn't do it. Later, in the fourth special section, the third one, we got it where the private ones couldn't do it. I was there for that one. I was on that special committee from the Republican Party of Texas. And when we met with the Senate committee, the Hospital Alliance, the Medical Workers Alliance, the Insurance Worker Alliances, they had already been caught in so many lies during the regular session that they were whipped. And they actually lied against our vice chair. Y'all know Robin Armstrong? Yeah. No, he's not our vice chair. He's our Republican National Committee man. So he goes to national for us. They lied about him. He's a doctor, and they said they were threatening his license, and they got up and said, no, we never did that. And so we got back that they were lied to. And so when they came back time for the second hearing, they were very whipped. And it was a glorious thing to see. Because you know, they're the power, right? We're here in our little uniforms and our little t-shirts and, you know, our tennis shoes, and they're in their power suits and their Gucci's and their, you know, their Prada bags. And here we are, you know, winning the day because the grassroots got out and spread the information. Anyway, so we got that passed. They wanted to exempt hospitals from that. But Senator Cohurst, man, she would not let him, she would not give in. And it was all based on the truth. She was bringing out fact after fact after fact. So, so what do we have now? So what do we have now? You know, we want to ban Democratic committee chairs. Well, in 2021, there were 2023. In 2021, there were 13 Democratic chairs, 38%. And all we did was voice our opinion. We have no vote in this. We have no vote, we have no say in that vote. All we did was voice our opinion, call our people, work our guys, and then the next term, they had 9 Democratic chairs. So that's how much power you have just by keeping that pressure on. That's just the second year. Y'all paid attention to the primary elections? Y'all saw how many grassroots we got elected and how many are in the primaries, in the runoffs? Let me tell you, those that are in the runoff, for the last 30 years, 83% of incumbents lose in the runoffs. That's scaring them. And how did we get so many grassroots elected as state reps and county chairs? We had turnovers of county chairs, major county chairs, like Cameron County and Montgomery County. As an aside, Montgomery County is the reason why Trump won Texas. No, excuse me, that's another story. Ted Cruz won Texas. If Montgomery County had not come out the way they did, they got all new voters, Ted Cruz would have lost. That's how important Montgomery County is. So we got a conservative there. So what happened? So all these county chairs, we've got grassroots running for county chairs. And we have all these precinct people, all of a sudden, all these grassroots saying, I want to get involved, so they're running for precinct chair. So in all these counties where the precinct chairs are running, and the county chairs are running, guess what? The state rep flips, and the grassroots gets them because they're bringing in the votes. That's why it's always important to pay attention to your lower races, because they affect the top races. So what you can do for the legislative priorities is form a legislative priorities group in Granbury, a Granbury legislative priorities group. And you will be connected to the state group, and you will be part of this vast network of grassroots across the state, and on issues that you're concerned with, you'll link up with other ones, and you'll start to make a difference that way. On my phone, I have lots of these groups, and during the legislative session, we're talking, we're sharing information, we're giving action items, and it's just like it's a full-time job during that time for me, but it's totally worth it. If you go into the state convention, pay attention to the rules. We're going to try to close the primaries this year in Rules Committee. The State Republican Executive Committee voted to send a resolution to the Rules Committee saying close the primaries. So we have a mandate. It's tricky because there are lots of people have different ideas on how to do it, and we need to do it right. I suggest Idaho, the way that Idaho did it. They did it first, it went to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court upheld it. So you can look at that case if you're interested in it. If you're interested in that, get with me. I'll be on the Rules Committee. Get with me, and you can shadow me, and we can talk about it. And if you have ideas, if you know the election code, if you know how it should work, if you have ideas on how it works, I'm your person who represents you on the Rules Committee on that. The platform. So John Carr is going to be your representative on the platform committee, but he needs a team. So if you're going to be there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, reach out to me and put together a team, because the platform committee breaks off into subcommittees. So while he's in one subcommittee, there are all these other subcommittees that are meeting, and he has no clue what's going on. So the team goes to these separate subcommittees, they take notes, they strategize, they provide expert witness, and they organize at that level. And that allows him to be ahead of the game when they come back to the joint meeting, so that he doesn't have any surprises. Legislative priorities. They'll have a committee. If y'all are interested in that, go to that committee. It works a lot closely with the platform committee. But they don't have subcommittees. And if you're interested in being on any of these committees in the future, you've got to go and watch these committees. We cannot trust these positions to a person that has never seen the operation. This region is too important. We're very conservative. We bring that conservative vote, and we have to bring it. The rest of Texas depends on it. And then go vote in the general election and get out the vote. Anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. So she was talking about the convention and grassroots, and I know some of y'all here have heard me say this before. I believe it was in 2018 when I was in San Antonio at the convention. The establishment tried to come back and have their person elected as the GOP chair, and that instead of accepting what the grassroots had put before them. So at the convention, your representatives will meet with the other SD 22 people, and you will vote. Vote on who you want to be your chairman. And all of the districts do that, and it comes together, and whoever gets the most vote wins. Well, the establishment group out of, I believe, Houston, somewhere didn't like it, that their person didn't win. So they want to overwrite what had been done. They wanted to bring her to the stage, let her speak, and have a vote from the floor, which had not ever been done before. And everybody said no, boo, no, but they just kept pushing it. And she came to the floor to speak because they wouldn't listen to the grassroots. The auditorium went into such a roar, you couldn't even hear the person next to you. Stomping feet, clapping, booing, whatever, until the lady couldn't speak. She had to leave the stage. And that was the grassroots in action. So it's kind of neat to see. So we have another Houston person, I think, maybe coming this time, maybe the same thing. Oh, we'll see. But it's kind of fun to watch the grassroots in action. And I've been to Austin a couple of times, and so if you ever get a chance to do that, it's really good to go down and see how the operation is, see what they go through, see what Leslie and them go through. So yeah, she's your representative. I'm Mary and Chris. Do y'all want to announce the Women's Club?
Our meetings are always the third Wednesday of the month, and so this next month we're going to be discussing the school bond and having some people there to discuss that. So that'll be at 10 o'clock at the Wiley Center on the third Wednesday of April.
10 o'clock, Wiley Center, third Wednesday, guys. So you guys be there. It's a good club, it's growing, and we need to all support each other. So you guys come out and visit with the Women's Club. Didn't bring my paper up here. I think I'm just about through. Tina's got something.
Yeah, we just found out that the video we played earlier tonight, the one about the school bond.
The one that we played earlier tonight, I hope y'all paid attention because YouTube took it down.
No.
And they said that the account has been canceled or suspended? Terminated. Yeah. So evidently, I don't know if somebody heard it on here and complained or what, but I hope you paid attention because it's gone now. So.
Oh, we got a copy.
I have a copy on my computer. So we have it. I have it on the thumb drive. Monica has it on the thumb drive. So we got it. They can't just stop us. They aren't going to stop us. And I was going to tell Leslie also that we have a great EA here. She's supported by most of us. She does a great job. We did have a bad one, and the people kept on and on and on and on until she finally said, I just give up and left. So, with Houston. Yeah. So, anyway, that's what you do if you have a bad EA. You just stay on her with facts. We weren't ugly, nothing else, but we just kept giving facts to the Commissioner's Court. Facts that our judge had to take to the committee over and over again. So finally, she just gave up the fight and left. So good. Now we have a very good EA. I guess that's about it. There you are, Wes. I didn't see you. I thought you might have left us. So as always, we have Wes Thompson come and sing us out for the night.
All time, please. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans,